What's going on, YouTube? Before I hop into this video, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been watching lately. YouTube's done this weird thing where it is highly recommended my videos for it was weird. Like when I first started this journey, I was getting just a few views a video, and then just probably five videos, up to 10 to 5 to 10 videos ago, like YouTube, I just started taking off, like hundreds, if not like 1,000 views a video. And then all of a sudden we're back to like 30. So, which isn't a huge deal. I appreciate the people who watch and support and comment. You know who you are, so I really appreciate it. But today's topic is, were people happier before the internet? I don't know if I necessarily have an opinion, because I really wasn't around before the internet. I was born in 1996, and by the time I got older, we had the internet and I was using it. Now, I was in a very early stage of using the internet, of course, when I was growing up. And I'm very thankful for that, because, kids nowadays are just they're on their iPads since literally before they even turn one. And I think that would have really messed with me a little bit. But I'm just going to bring up 4 points for each side and see if you guys, see what you guys think at the end. This isn't really like my opinion. I'm just going to bring up some points as to why the world was probably happier, or maybe before the internet, or maybe they're happier now with the internet. So a couple pros to, are people happier kind of after the internet? So number one is connectivity. So you're able to kind of stay in touch with your friends and family no matter where they are in the world, which is really cool. That also kind of goes with cell phones and texting and calling in general, but you're really able to, especially with social media, keep up with people a lot better. I mean, could you imagine if you had friends across the country before, the internet, or really before it was easy to just give them a call and not expensive to give them a call? You wouldn't hear from them probably for a long time. And so that's kind of cool. Then what internet allows is for us to be connected. The access of information. So, it's easier to learn, problem solve, and obviously there's a big awareness of world issues and events now with the internet. So the world is pretty much broadcast through the internet, and we see it. Well, whether that's a good or a bad thing, for this example, we'll just say it's a good thing. And especially with learning, like AI. I mean, I made a whole video on AI. It makes learning a little bit easier, but I do worry that, it's going to start handicapping people to where it's the only thing they use to learn. But we have that ability with the internet. You can learn pretty much anything you want. It's on the internet. Opportunities. So this is a big one. Jobs, remote work, side gigs, anything job related, you can find it on the internet. Before the internet, finding a job, I don't even really know what they did besides maybe post in newspapers, or they would I don't even really know what people would do to try and find a job. I guess they would go to career fairs, right? Like before jobs were posted on the internet, you really didn't know what else was out there. And I think it's interesting now. There's, you can look on like LinkedIn, Indeed, or one of the other trillion job sites out there, and find a new job or a side gig. It's good for job searchers, but unfortunately, I think because of how easy it is, now there is a lot of saturation and competition. But overall, I think one could make the point that it's a good thing. Last thing for pros is communities. So online, you can kind of build a really good community of people within like a niche. So if you have like a hobby, let's say of like rock climbing, there's tons of rock climbing, let's say videos on YouTube, forums, maybe blogs, stuff that you can interact with a community of people. And I think that's really cool and really powerful in today's age of technology. There is a lot of technology, or maybe like social media, that can be pretty toxic, but finding a community within a small niche, I think is really cool for a lot of people. So now I'm going to go over to maybe the opposite side. So where I would maybe argue that people were happier before the internet. And I think, to be honest with you, I kind of agree more with this side. While there are some goods to the internet, I feel like in this past so many years, especially since COVID, we've really seen the dark sides of modern internet. And if you know what you know, I won't get too much into that, but I'm going to kind of explain why in these next points, why you could make the argument for the internet, or the world was a little bit happier before the internet. So the first thing is information overload and stress. So like the constant notifications you get on your phone, people doom scrolling, 24/7 news. You could argue that that's not really that healthy and not good for your mental state. Constant notifications. It almost feels like you're a slave to your phone in a way. Like your phone dings or it buzzes and you're like, all right, like what was it? You want to look, and you do it almost subconsciously nowadays. Doom scrolling, any social media, these new algorithms that came out, they have you doom scrolling. It's almost like a little gambling effect. Like when you hit a slot machine, it's almost the same thing when you scroll to another video. It's kind of this idea of like, well, what's next? Like, am I going to get something really cool? 24/7 news. I'm a big hater of the news. I'll be honest with you. The news only wants you to sell you something. So essentially, it's just a lot of clickbait. And whether or not it's actually a good news story or not, they're really only trying to get you to read. And I don't know. The news just gives me a lot of anxiety, to be honest with you. The second thing is social comparison. So before the internet, the only ways that you would compare yourself socially to others was to go out and engage with others. Nowadays, people sit on social media all day long, and then you kind of see these curated lives that can really worsen your self-esteem because, I mean, the persona that people put on social media is almost one of like, I'm perfect, right? And they're far from it. And it's hard to see the difference, right? You only really see that other side is if they have a big falling out. And then, of course, the news and the media drags them through the mud. But, you only see that other side if people are going through like a downturn. Nobody's perfect, but I think social media really paints this perfection picture that can really be harmful. Disconnection. And this one kind of goes against, obviously, my first point in the video, which is connectivity. Really ironically, more time online sometimes leads to a lot of just less face-to-face interactions. So now that we're online more, and I talked about this in a different video, we are not connecting with other people face-to-face. Like, we're losing the human interaction, right? And one could argue that people had stronger, better, more healthy relationships before the internet. And whether or not that's true today, I don't personally know, but I do know that people are out and about more. They would show up unannounced at somebody's home, looking to talk, looking to just have a good conversation, look to interact. And nowadays that doesn't happen. So whether that's good or bad, not 100% sure, but we are losing a lot of face-to-face interaction, and we're doing a lot more isolating. And I just know that's not healthy. It's just not long-term. Last thing is privacy. So, there's a few sites out there, and I've been on these sites. They're like free. It's like Free People Search, I think .com or whatever. You can type in anybody's name, and it will give you their phone number, their family addresses, their address. It just depends on what's out there. Just about anybody you search. I mean, there is data on us. Like, our data has been sold by just about every website, Facebook, all these social medias. It's been sold to literally everybody. And so our data is out there. And that's not good per se, right? Like, if somebody wants to come after you for something, they can find just about anything they want on you. And depending on what state you're in, you can also look up court cases for free and see, if somebody's been convicted of this or that, which, that's also either a good or a bad thing. I mean, there's a lot of information that people can find on you nowadays. And I would argue that some of it's good and some of it's bad, right? It's kind of a give or take what you're trying to find. So I read this article where kind of older generations feel, a little bit uneasy with all that, of course, and that's why they're so kind of inept with current technologies, because they don't want to do something that'll they don't want people spying on them, essentially, which weirdly enough, I think people can almost find anything they want. So anyway, that kind of wraps it up. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Were people happier before the internet? People watching this video probably aren't old enough to remember pre-internet times. And so, who knows? Let me know in the comments. And with all this being said, I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break from YouTube. I made a video about just about everything I've wanted to make a video about. And, YouTube's kind of been interesting lately, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to take a little bit of break, a little bit of time, and maybe come up with some new topics, and maybe see you guys a little bit later this year. So anyway, hope you all enjoy. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks.